Why the Lexus RX is the ultimate vehicle for retirement. Not one of the best, not pretty good. For a lot of people who are done playing games with cars, the RX is exactly the sweet spot. You hit a point in life where you don't care about impressing the valet anymore. You care about comfort, silence, not getting stranded, not writing $3,000 checks to random warning lights, and not feeling beat up after a 3-hour drive to see the kids or grandkids. And this is where the Lexus RX quietly destroys most of the market. I'm GearHead. I'm not here to sell you a brand. I'm here to explain why the RX, from a mechanical and ownership perspective, checks boxes that almost nothing else does, especially if you're looking at retirement or you're just done with drama. If you want to understand cars before you trust them with your time and money, hit subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of breakdown that keeps you away from high-maintenance mistakes. Let's decode the Lexus RX. What the RX actually is and isn't. Mechanically, the RX is not a fragile, exotic luxury experiment. It's basically a Toyota-style mid-size crossover, with Lexus-grade refinement layered on top, using engines and hybrid systems that are heavily based on Toyota's most proven tech. Underneath the leather, wood, and soft plastics, you're not driving some one-off science project. You're driving a Camry or Highlander family drivetrain, tuned for smoothness, sitting on a unibody platform that's been refined for decades. This matters because replacement parts are widely available. Independent shops actually know how to work on them, and most of the tech has been pressure tested on Toyotas first, then given the Lexus treatment. So from a mechanical standpoint, you're getting Toyota guts with Lexus comfort wrapped around them. For retirement, that's perfect. You're not gambling on rare parts and specialist-only repairs. You're buying into industry-wide consensus that, yeah, these things just work. Ride and comfort, built for real-world bodies. Let's be honest, as you get older, your back, knees, and neck have opinions. Sports sedans and stiff suspensions stop being fun and start being a reminder you're not 25 anymore. The RX suspension philosophy is simple. Soak up bumps, keep noise out, and don't make you think about the road surface unless you want to. Mechanically, that means soft but well-controlled springs and dampers, more compliance in bushings and mounts to isolate vibration, and a steering setup tuned for ease and stability, not razor-sharp track response. You get a higher seating position that makes entry and exit easier, seats that are genuinely comfortable for hours, not just 20-minute test drives, and cabin insulation that kills wind and road noise better than most rivals. It's one of those cars you can drive for 3 or 4 hours, get out, and not feel like you need to stretch on the sidewalk to function. For retirement driving, road trips, errands, visiting family, that's exactly what you want. Effortless. Engines and drivetrains. Why they last. Here's where the RX really separates itself mechanically from a lot of luxury competition. Most RX generations use a naturally aspirated V6, like the older RX 350, RX 330, and RX 300, or a V6-based hybrid system, like the RX 450h and RX 400h, or in newer models, a downsized Turbo 4 or hybrid variants depending on market and year. The retirement sweet spot, in my opinion, is the era of the RX 350 with the 3.5-liter V6 and the RX 450h with the Toyota and Lexus full hybrid system using that same V6 architecture. Why? Because the 3.5-liter V6 and Toyota full hybrid systems have some of the best reliability records in the industry when maintained reasonably. Mechanically speaking, the V6 is understressed. It's not tuned to an inch of its life. It uses timing chains, not belts, so there is no 90,000-mile engine surgery timing belt replacement. Internal components are built for long life in mind, not maximum horsepower. The hybrids add Toyota's power split hybrid transaxle, one of the most durable hybrid drive units ever made. Electric motors handle a lot of low-speed work, reducing engine stress, and regenerative braking helps your brake pads last a very long time in many cases. You are not dealing with high-boost, tiny turbo engines strained just to move the weight, fragile dual-clutch gearboxes that hate creeping in traffic, or unproven experimental tech. Instead, you're getting a drivetrain that's boring on paper, brilliant in real life, and has already proven it can hit 200,000-plus miles with basic care. For retirement, that's exactly the trade-off you want. Less wow in the brochure, Way more starts every morning for 10 years. Hybrid RX versus gas RX. Which makes sense for retirement? This is a big question, so let's hit the mechanical pros and cons. First, the gas V6 RX 350. The pros, it's simpler than the hybrid. One engine, one transmission, fewer high-voltage bits. It has plenty of power and smoothness for normal and highway driving. It's easy for almost any mechanic to understand, and there is no hybrid battery pack to think about long-term. The cons, worse fuel economy, especially in city or stop-and-go traffic, more wear on the brakes compared to the hybrid since there is no regen, and the engine runs all the time, so slightly more cumulative wear in heavy city use. Now, the hybrid V6 RX 450h. The pros, excellent real-world fuel economy for this size and weight. Electric assist makes low-speed driving extra smooth and quiet. It uses the proven Toyota and Lexus hybrid system, one of the best track records globally. It has less brake wear thanks to regenerative braking, and often feels more relaxed because the electric motor helps with that initial shove. But the cons, higher complexity, with a battery pack, inverter, and extra cooling circuits. At very high mileage or age, you may eventually face a hybrid battery replacement, though many go 10 to 15 years before that's needed. And it's slightly more specialized when it needs non-routine repairs. A hybrid-savvy mechanic is a must. Mechanically, both are excellent platforms. For retirement, if you drive a lot of city miles and plan to keep the car for 10+ years, an RX 450h can save serious fuel and feel calmer in traffic. If your driving is mostly light use and you want maximum simplicity, an RX 350 with a strong maintenance history is still an absolute tank of a drivetrain. Either way, you're choosing between very good and also very good. Reliability versus complexity. Why RX beats most luxury rivals? Let's compare this to a typical German luxury SUV or high-end crossover. What you often get there are turbocharged or twin-turbo engines at high specific output, complex 7, 8, or 9-speed automatics or dual clutches, air suspension with ride height control, and layers of electronics and modules that all talk to each other. Are they incredible when new? Yes. Are they as comforting at 120,000 miles out of warranty? Often no.
Mechanically, more turbo heat equals more stress on oil, valves, gaskets, and plastics. More gear ratios means more parts to wear or fail. Air suspension means bags, pumps, valves, and sensors that can leak or die. Electronics everywhere means more points of failure as components age and connections corrode. The RX, by comparison, generally avoids the most fragile toys. Even when it has air-like features or advanced suspension on some higher trims, Lexus tends to use more conservative tunes, test those systems heavily before mass rollout, and make them far more reliable in practice than some European equivalents. For someone in retirement, the last thing you want is car is in the shop, part is backordered, bill is 4 figures. Again. The RX's combination of proven engine families, robust hybrid systems, and simplified drivetrains reduces the odds of that dramatically compared to many competitors. Long-term ownership. What actually fails? No car is perfect, so let's be honest about what does age on an RX. Typical age and mileage-related things you'll see include suspension components like bushings, control arms, and shocks wearing out, which is normal on any vehicle. Rubber seals and weather stripping aging, especially in harsh climates. Radiators and cooling hoses eventually needing replacement. On older hybrids, traction batteries slowly losing capacity, often after 10 to 15 years. And occasional oil leaks from gaskets and seals as rubber hardens. The key difference is most of these are wear items, not engine explodes because of bad design problems. You're not looking at systemic engine failures, widespread transmission grenades, or chronic electrical suicides that plague some other luxury brands. If you go into RX ownership with a good pre-purchase inspection, realistic expectations that you'll replace normal wear items, and a budget for maintenance instead of pretending cars are free, it's one of the lowest drama luxury vehicles you can own, especially through your retirement years. Safety and ergonomics quietly important as you age. Mechanically adjacent but important, the RX takes safety and ergonomics seriously. From a retired driver perspective, a higher hip point equals easier ingress and egress, less bending and twisting. It has good outward visibility compared to a lot of trendy high beltline SUVs. And the Lexus safety system in newer models adds adaptive cruise, lane assist, and collision avoidance, properly tuned to be helpful rather than annoying in most cases. The braking systems and chassis tuning are set up to be stable and predictable, not razor-edge sporty at the expense of comfort and forgiveness. When your reflexes aren't what they were at 20, a car that warns you early, stops straight, and doesn't do anything unpredictable is worth a lot more than one that shaves half a second off a track lap. Fuel economy and range, stress reduction you can feel. You may not be commuting daily in retirement, or maybe you're doing more road trips than ever. Either way, the RX gives you something valuable: predictability. The RX 350 offers decent miles per gallon for its size. The RX 450h offers excellent miles per gallon for its performance and comfort level. Mechanically, a big tank plus good efficiency means fewer gas stops, more flexibility on when and where you refuel, and less stress on long stretches of highway or rural driving. If you've ever found yourself hunting for a gas station in an unfamiliar area, you know how much of a mental load this takes off. Used RX, the smart retirement buy? Brand new RX, fantastic if your budget allows, but a well-chosen used RX is where the value really gets insane for retirees. What you're looking for mechanically is full or strong maintenance records, like oil changes, coolant, and any major work. No signs of accident damage or flood history. Smooth engine and transmission behavior. On hybrids, no weird battery behavior or hybrid system warnings, and reasonable mileage for the year, but more importantly, good history over low miles. A 7 to 10-year-old RX with 80,000 to 140,000 miles, a clean history, and a good inspection is one of the few luxury vehicles where you can realistically say, yes, I can own this into my retirement years without it becoming a money trap. Try saying that about a 10-year-old high-end German SUV with a twin-turbo V8 and air suspension, and actually believing it. So, is the RX the ultimate retirement vehicle? From a mechanical and ownership perspective, for a lot of people, yes. It hits a very rare combination. It is comfortable enough for aging bodies, simple and proven enough mechanically to avoid constant drama, efficient enough that fuel costs don't sting, safe and easy to drive without stress, and built on Toyota-grade reliability with Lexus-grade refinement. If you're at the stage of life where you care less about impressing people and more about not wasting time and money at the shop while still enjoying something genuinely pleasant to drive, the RX is about as close as buy this and relax. Will it last forever without a single issue? No car will. But if you treat it well, choose the right year and drivetrain, and keep up with normal maintenance, it's one of the lowest risk, highest comfort vehicles you can own into retirement. If you want help figuring out which RX years to target, whether to go hybrid or gas for your situation, and what to watch out for on a test drive and inspection, make sure you're subscribed, because this is exactly the kind of car where a little knowledge up front can buy you years of quiet, comfortable, low-stress driving. I'm GearHead. Every car has a story, and together, we're going to decode the ones that deserve to carry you through the best years of your life.